if I go a bit into your personal life, it's been turbulent. May I use that word?
Sure.
It has, right? Star parents and a very public divorce back in the 90s that the entire country and maybe even half the world followed. जो लोग देख रहे थे television, Pakistani films जो देखते थे उस वक्त में. You yourself got married at such a young age. 20?
19.
19 पे आपकी अपनी शादी हुई and then आपकी अपनी divorce and you have 2 young children. It couldn't have been easy. And then, of course, the entire rhetoric around your dad and the kind of sentiments that people have against him in Pakistan. And so all of that coming together makes for a very turbulent personal life.
Sure.
And yet you're so calm and you're smiling and you're so, you talk about romance and you talk about love and you talk about happiness and giggle fits on the set. What keeps you grounded? And I mean, how does one come up with the Azaan Sami Khan after all this turbulence? How did it affect you?
I think you learn to compartmentalize. You learn to value time much better. Yes, it is true that because of, my parents, they had a very public divorce.
Yes.
On a national level.
Bilkul.
I grew up having to know things like courts very young. Knowing I come from a legal family, so knowing the judicial system very well, custody laws very well, things which a normal 10, 12, 15-year-old probably doesn't know much about, going to those places. So, honestly speaking, there were ups and downs. There were dark moments, but as they say, you only value the light when you have had the dark, right? So you end up not just living, you end up living in the moment where you're like, I'm having a good time, I'm not going to think about other things too much. So as far as that is concerned, I think, honestly speaking, I was raised by a tremendous woman. And a day doesn't go by where I don't gain further respect for her, for, positions she took in her life, which, honestly speaking, she was Raj Kapoor Saab's last heroine.
Absolutely.
To have a kid 1 year after that is itself, it's just the decision itself. I don't know too many actresses who today in 2022 will choose to have a kid and put a big break on their career at the peak of their career. There are those who've done it, but it is still a tremendous sacrifice. When in the 90s, everyone would have told you, and I know they did. Aaj bhi I hear regressive stories being told to women specifically that जब माँ बन जाती है तो फिर वो heroine नहीं रहती. Nonsense of that level, right? I myself have heard stuff like that being said. So when I see that what it would have taken her to make a decision then, that's courage. That's courage, that is having your values very clearly set out, that, I want to have a kid, that is very clear to me. So firstly, I was raised by a tremendous woman. And I think she allowed me to very clearly define what's right, what's wrong. And I think that's the first side of it. Then God blessed me with kids at a young age. And today, them and my mom collectively end up becoming this severely heavy moral compass in life, right?
So you have 2 kids, just for public knowledge, and Ibrahim turns
8 tomorrow,
which is today,
when you guys are watching,
right? And inshallah. Lily is the younger one.
She's 6 years old.
She's 6 years old, and they live with their mother.
They live with so we co-parent them.
Okay.
So they're with her during school days. They're with me. Otherwise, they live in England.
They live in England.
And I'm back and forth. So if anybody on social media sees that I'm there fairly often.
Right.
But yeah, we co-parent. She's a tremendous mom. And alhamdulillah, I think because of my experiences, I met my father after the age of 4. I met him when I was 14. I didn't see him for 10 years.
Right.
There were tremendous legal battles and et cetera, during my, early years. So I was very clear that if things don't work in a marriage, I would never want them to ever go through that.
Right.
And that's probably why I made certain decisions at a timely manner, where, alhamdulillah, today everything is peaceful and things happen in a manner. And today we can make constructive conversations, be the forefront of our lives instead of like, if I go to court tomorrow, where will I land up? I grew up with those thoughts. I would have conversations that my family would have with me saying, tomorrow is a session where you might end up living, it was fairly unstable. So because of that, I think my mother, my kids have allowed me to be whoever I am today, good or bad. And I think that they push me to be the person I am more than anything else. And I'm grateful for that. I think, as I said, dark times allow you to value the good times.
Right.
And most importantly, I would genuinely say Allah has been tremendously kind to me.
Right. No, it's great. It shows actually in the way you are and the way you hold yourself. I think people like you are very important to the industry.
Thank you.
और nepotism की बात ठीक है अपनी जगह पे, जो लोग struggle करते हैं और उनको नहीं मौका मिलता, अगर bitter होते हैं तो वो जायज़ है वो भी एक हद तक, ये दरवाजे उनके लिए नहीं खुलते. But on the other side, I think you've had a rough time as well. It hasn't been easy, and I'm happy to see young men like you coming into the industry who come with a certain kind of maturity and a respect for the profession and respect for other people and all that.
As I said, it's something that I had to accept early on was that the way a kid that goes into, that goes to college and is doing the undergrad and he gets to choose 16 courses of various different subjects and experiment with them and try to figure them out. And then chooses his major in the second or third year, and then decides what he has to do. In my case, the environment I grew up in, for me to do and figure out what I want to do ends up just being a little more exposed.
Right.
So if I want to tomorrow screenwrite, and if that script gets greenlit and someone makes it, you'll know about it.
Bilkul.
As compared to if I just, do you get what I'm saying? So it's
Absolutely.
So I accepted that a while ago. Hence, I don't think about that too much. Am I somebody जो एक relentless train पे चलता रहेगा कि नहीं लोगों को मैं बुरा लग रहा हूँ कोई चीज करते हुए मैं तब भी करता रहूँगा लगे रहोगा नहीं मैं उस तरह का नहीं हूँ. I don't take things personally. I don't, so it doesn't.
Before we move on, एक सवाल मेरे दिमाग में फंसा हुआ है क्योंकि I know Zeba as well and I know that she loves you like to bits, of course. But I also know she's strict. उन्होंने रोका नहीं आपको 19 साल पे शादी करने पे? मतलब मैं जब सोचती हूँ कि my elder kid is 23, मैं सोच नहीं सकती कि मैं उसको green signal दूँ शादी के लिए भी. आपको रोका नहीं था 19 साल पे?
देखिए, she's other than my own parents, I come from a fairly conservative Pathan family, right? So it was, I think she spoke to my uncles who are her elder brothers, and they said कि अगर शादी करना चाह रहे शादी एक जायज चीज है और इसमें कोई गलत बात नहीं है. इससे बेहतर तो नहीं, ऐसे तो नहीं ना कि कोई लंबी
गुनाह की जिंदगी में रहे.
Exactly. तो देर लगी कोई गलत बात नहीं है, as long as he knows what the responsibility of it is. And that was obviously, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then when you get into it, then you realize that. But I don't, she did say, she sat me down and she did say to me, okay, whatever you do now, it will not just affect you, but potentially, because obviously we didn't have kids for a while after that, it'll affect several people. So I think it was a masterclass in responsibility, masterclass in growing up. But she's somebody who has always delved and pushed me to कि अच्छा जिद आई हुई है ना, हम सब जिद्दी हैं, ये करना है ना, अच्छा जी सबसे गहरे में जाओ और फिर तैर के निकलो बाहर. मतलब I think that's probably because I did go and speak to her about Ishkila. I said ये करना चाहिए. She said co-actress कौन है तुम्हारे? I told her. She said अच्छा बिल्कुल करो. ठीक है. And then that time I was like, मुझे बताया क्यों नहीं आपने? Because in my head I was like, okay, there I'll also go. I had no idea. So I think she has always pushed me to take on challenges. I now today love challenges. I get a thrill from them. So even when going into Ishkila, I was like, don't drown. You're going in the depth of the ocean. Don't drown.
You didn't drown.
So luckily
Alhamdulillah, you didn't drown. No, absolutely. You've come out swimming and you're swimming towards other scripts as well, which you will not reveal.
As I said, it's not my place to right now until they tell me, and I'll be the first person with the trumpet announcing it. like I'm bad with secrets. But I just, as I said, I want the characters to evoke some emotion, whether it's fun, happiness, love. Secondly, being a son and being a father, I just cannot. For me, the moral compass of my character is very important. It is.